Greetings. Welcome back to the Dragon's Den. So, young old man, I said I would do this video for the last day of Black History Month. Time kind of got away from me, so forgive the hair. I didn't really get doctored up for this, but I really did want to do this video. Like I said on my TikTok, well, I said on my other social media, the subject is kind of a continuation of my language video, one of the first videos I put out, talking about what I said on my social media video was that white supremacy it's not a real thing. And I know a lot of people probably freak out about that, freak about just hearing that now because of how well established the idea is, and all of the books and think pieces and talk pieces, and all of our elders and intellects talking about it and using it to just talking about it. But even if you're talking about it in a negative and talking about how bad it is and talking about how much it hurts and destroys, and you're legitimizing it just by saying that phrase because it's an idea, which makes it a noun. Again, just like the difference between slave and enslaved, between slave master and enslaver. My original video, which I implored you to look at before you came to watch this, right? White supremacy is not real because whiteness is not supreme. And no matter how many times you say white supremacy did this, white supremacy is what you define it, your definition of it gives it credence. And even if in defining it you're tearing it apart and picking it apart and saying how evil it is or whatever, you're still legitimizing that the idea is real, that whiteness is supreme, and it's not. So I don't use that term anymore. So what would be a proper term to use? Much like enslaved and enslaver, a term that denotes action and who commits the action. So my first iteration of getting to what terminology we should use to better empower ourselves and going forward, just like I said, how we empower ourselves and how we refer to our ancestors, enslaved, and the people who enslaved them as enslavers versus the other terms that have been so popularized. So instead of saying white supremacy, which is just an idea that no matter which way you use it and try to spring it, just legitimizes that it's a real thing. And since it's not, then what is the thing that Europeans have done to the world? It's not white supremacy, because whiteness is not supreme. It's European domination. It's European male domination. It's white male domination. Now, I say white male domination, and that's going to be my most go-to term instead of saying white supremacy. It's white male domination because that's an action. White males seek to dominate everything. And I use that instead of saying European male domination only because, well, they created the idea of whiteness. So they can keep that. But their domination of the world is going to come to an end because they can't, you can't, it's not going to last long. It's an untenable endeavor. They're the minority on the planet, to be quite honest, and so that's why the big bolster of upholding, the illusion, the complete delusion of their supremacy. They made that shit up, but they have enacted the mechanisms and the weapons of society to continue their domination. That's their only goal. It's not, you know. And I saw an interesting video earlier today, actually. Or no, it's funny because I saw this video after I did my morning video, alluding to this video, and a person was talking about, you know, the fallacy of whiteness and how it's really severely detrimental to them because it's completely untenable, because it just is. And it's not even, and like I said, and I specify male on purpose, European male or white male domination, because they're the ones dominant. White women only have power because of white men, right? Their whiteness, the idea of whiteness that Europeans created is as much of a trap for them as it is a violent weapon for everyone else on the planet. So it is what it is. I don't want to talk too much about it because this is not really it. I'm not out to be a dedicated educator. I've been around long enough, young old man, and these are things I think about and I've been thinking about for a long time, and I just want to share. Maybe my thoughts spark the mind that fuels the change that needs to happen. I don't know, but in order for change to happen, we need to change the way we think. We need to change the way we speak. We need to change the language we use and how we use the language. We have to stop using language the way that is beneficial to everyone else and use language that's beneficial to us, even if that means learning the way they use language and then using that against them, much like our ancestors used their religion against them to gain as much freedom as was possible underneath the system that they created. But yeah, white male domination, that gives us a target. You can't attack white supremacy. You can't stop white supremacy, but you can stop white male. You can stop white males. That's a target. They're the ones fighting a war that none of us really want to be in. But the sooner melanated people around the world decide to acknowledge the enemy and then one of two things, either disengage or create a stronger opposing force to stop their domination, right? If we disengage from their ways of doing things, we just stop. If the African countries that European countries have been raping for, over a century now, if those African countries, the leaders of the African countries, just stop, just cut them off, stop sending them money, just cut off all means of extraction. Don't let them come on your lands. Get rid of, stop the ones who were there from sending anything. Most of the world was shut down. But the problem with disengaging from the system that Europeans created is they're not going to let you. They're going to attack. History proves this. So just disengaging from their rules, you have to understand that when we do finally come to a collective understanding that we don't have to live the way that they set up and that they dictate. When we remove ourselves from that, we have to be ready to defend ourselves, because they're going to come, because they can't. They have nothing the world wants, but everyone else has what they want. Everyone, history, learn history. Everyone, everywhere they went, people were willing to share with them. They didn't want to share, they wanted control. They're greedy. European males, white males. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the group, the collective culture of them. White people, like black, one of the biggest things black people love saying when white people, say, oh, black people just say black people are not a monolith. I know white people are not a monolith, but they set up this world dominating culture, and they clearly, and here's the rub. Collectively, they benefit from it. They're not gonna, and they can't see, because they've been so, over the centuries, dialed into the way things are. They can't see outside of, collectively, they can't see outside of an hierarchical dominating society. That's all they know. That's all they keep teaching. That's all they keep passing on. So that's all they know. And they're not letting it go. So we have to remove ourselves from it. But like I said, once we do, they're going to come. History has proven that. In America alone, we've seen it. How many black towns, how many black villages, how many native towns, how many native villages have been attacked, destroyed, flooded, people murdered, lynched? How many? Simply because when we did have our own, we thrived, because it's in the genes, it's in the melanin. We are communal peoples. So when we have our community, we thrive. They don't. Not like we do. And they get jealous and they come and destroy. Every time. Every time. I'm not making this shit up. And I'm not giving you goddamn examples either. It's the 21st century. Google, motherfucker. Google. Go find some information. It's out there. It's out there on every social media platform. You have access to one of the greatest groupings of knowledge this world has ever seen, the internet. There's so much history. And Turtle Island alone is the occupation of Turtle Island is a very grand experiment. And we see the results of it. Europeans are crazy. Just look at history. Argue with your mother. Ask your ancestors. And for those of you of pale hue, you unmelanated folks, don't get mad at me. Go talk to your grandparents. Go meditate and meet your ancestors. Ask them why they did what they did. Why they passed down the insanity to you. Look at yourself and ask why you keep perpetuating this insanity. Because it's not necessary. It's absolutely not necessary. But, yeah, language. To my peoples, my native peoples of Turtle Island, my African peoples, all of my melanated brethren around the world, including Asians, Pacific Islanders. This white man has done a number on us. And until we really bog down as a collective and decide to disengage from the systems that they've set up for their gain at the expense of all the rest of us, it's going to be problems. It's not going to last long. Again, because we're communal people. They're going to self-destruct. I think we see the beginnings of it happening with all these school shootings and them still refusing to. Their own kids are killing themselves in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools, and they still won't do the necessary things to prevent that from happening. Insane. But yeah, that's this video. I wanted to get this out. It's about using our language in a very precise way that identifies the issue and is empowering to ourselves and takes away power from those who want power over us. They don't like being called out. They can't stand it. We've seen it. They don't like it. They get upset because telling them the truth. We live in the 21st century. The information is out there. They know. Go look up Jane Elliott. Okay? Go look at some of the talks she's done and the gatherings she's had with white people and her trying to educate them. They're insane. They can't deal with truth. Their entire world, their children have been given a completely illusory worldview. Like they know nothing about what their ancestors have really done at all. They don't even really teach history anymore. All that they teach in American schools is propaganda and basic shit. It's sick. And we can't rely on them to educate ourselves. We got to do it. And the first key is the language we use. My ancestors were not slaves. They were enslaved. The people who enslaved them, they're enslavers. Colonizers is not bad either, but still, I'd rather say enslavers. Because that denotes the reality of what was done. And they're not supreme in any way. They're not superior. So I refuse to say white superiority, because there's nothing superior about whiteness. There's nothing superior. If anything, their actions throughout history prove how inferior they are. I think I said it in the last video, my last language video, but their very actions throughout history show how inferior they actually are to every other culture on the planet. So, and I'll acknowledge that. I'm not acknowledging that their superiority complex is a what's it called? It's a rejection. It's a projection of their inferiority. They're projecting their feelings of inferiority on everybody else, because they actually are. Maybe not by nature, but by action. Maybe if they choose to stop being so inferior, They won't have to project their superiority on their perceived superiority on everyone else. So it's a bad psychological reaction, collective psychological reaction. They have nothing. You look historically at the world, where they came from, and then where everybody else was. They have nothing. They have nothing the world wants. And the only thing they've given the world is violence and death. So, white male domination. There's no such thing as white superiority. But white males are still seeking to dominate the world. And they've created a whole entire global system to that end. And because they're actually the minority on the planet, it's not going to last much longer. Even the planet is fighting back. You paying attention? That's all I got. I'm not even going to do a second take of this. I know this was kind of a rant. This was more of a free flow video, even more than the others, you know. But this is what I wanted to do. So the resistance is always happening. It always has. It ebbs and flows. I think even Mother Nature is on our side. And once we really get in alignment properly and disengage, once more and more melanated people disengage from their systems, their social systems, their cultural systems, their bullshit religious systems, all of them, and we get back in touch with our historical cultural systems and our natural systems, we'll handle them easy. But that's it. Thanks for coming to the Dragon's Den. Be safe, be kind. Don't take no shit. YOM Man out. Hagone. Peace to everyone, even them. All I want is peace.